as a primary employment financially. Like, what's your opinion on that state of the industry?
Well, I can understand.
Yeah, you're going to have to succinct that a little bit.
Okay.
Let's paraphrase into a question.
Yeah. How do you think writers can survive when they can't make much money off of it?
How do you think writers can survive when they're not making that much money to write the stories nowadays?
They can't. No, I don't know how to answer. I think there are two questions that I don't know how to answer. One of them is, how do you get into the comic book business as a writer or an artist? And I honestly don't know the answer. And when you say, how does a writer survive who can't write or who doesn't sell what he writes? He better get some other job real fast. I don't know. If you do something and you can't make a living at it, you're not going to survive unless you get something else to do. It seems pretty obvious.
All right, yes.
All right. Out of all the characters that you created, which one took the longest and was the hardest to create a story for them? And like, how was
Out of
it
all the
back-
characters you created, which one was the hardest and took the longest to create a story or a persona around?
I think maybe the Hulk, because it was kind of tough to write about a green-skinned monster and have it make any sort of sense at all, and find a way that maybe people would care about him. And of course now people just adore him. But it was tough. Originally I wanted to make, I was thinking of Frankenstein. I wanted to make him like the monster in Frankenstein, because I always thought the monster was the good guy. Everybody was trying to hunt him down and kill him, and he wasn't really hurting anybody. And I thought it'd be nice to get a tragic monster like that. But then it occurred to me that it would get kind of dull having a story just following a monster around all the time. And I thought of Jekyll and Hyde, and I figured, what if he turned into a real man, a normal man? And the normal man hated the fact that he turned into the Hulk, and the Hulk hated having to be a weak, normal man again. And it began to spin around in my mind. I kept thinking of it, but that was probably the toughest one, because all the others were kind of easy. I mean, you get a guy who can stick to walls and shoot webs. That's easy. Call him Spider-Man, and you get going with it.
That was actually a really good question.
Hey, are we on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Is that us up there?
That's-
Why can't I see? Why don't I have a screen here? I'm missing all of this. We're on there too. We look all right?
I love working with this
You
man.
know, sometimes there's something like that, and they have a little monitor in front, and you can see yourself. All I see is some dim shapes up there, silhouettes. All right, I'm sorry, I'm holding things up. Sorry.
You're beautiful, Stan.
All right, yes.
Wait, you're a writer. Your brother Larry Lieber is an artist. Where did you both get that like talent? Like, I mean, you got a great family. Where'd that come from?
You and your brother Larry are both very talented. Where did your family come up with this talent pool?
I don't know. My mother was just a typical housewife, and my father, the poor guy, was unemployed. He had been a dress cutter, and why he was a dress cutter, God knows. And this was the time of the Depression, and he couldn't get any work as a dress cutter, and all I can remember is him sitting around reading the want-ads and hardly ever finding anything, and my mother in the kitchen cooking and doing the laundry, and there was no talk of writing or drawing or anything really. I don't know. Oh, I do know that I read a hell of a lot, and I loved reading. And my mother encouraged me with, in fact, one Christmas my gift was a little stand, a little metal stand that I could keep on the kitchen table so that if I was reading a book while I was eating, the book would be standing up so I could read it instead of having to look down like that. And I love that gift. But that was, we had no any training or anything in art or writing, you just gravitated toward it, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Would you say you've had any funny or weird experiences meeting any fans?
Have you had any weird or funny experiences interacting with fans?
Every experience was a bad experience. Fans are so terrific. People come over to me and they say, I just want to shake your hand, or I just want to thank you for something, and it makes me feel kind of funny, and I always say, I did it all for you, I just got to say something. But I love fans, they're the nicest people in the world, and I can relate to them because I've been a fan. If I could have met Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote Sherlock Holmes, I would have been the happiest man in the world. Or the Baroness Watson. And if any of you haven't seen the old Scarlet Pimpernel with Leslie Howard, you ought to try to rent it from Netflix or whoever it is. I was a big fan of so many things. In fact, I remember when I was a kid in the Journal American newspaper in New York, there was a writer named Floyd Gibbons. I don't remember what the hell he wrote, but I read his column every day. I was about 12, 13 years old. And to me, Floyd Gibbons was a hero because he wrote about he had been a war correspondent, he wrote about his adventures. Well, anyway, I wrote him a note. The first fan letter I had ever written, and about a month later, I got back a form letter, but it was from Floyd Gibbons' own secretary. And it said, printed, and it said, Mr. Gibbons, thanks you for your note. Signed so-and-so, Secretary Mr. Gibbons. I kept that in my pocket wherever I went. I carried that little note. So I know what it's like to be a fan. And I love fans, and I appreciate them, and I think that they're wonderful, and I always hope that I'm treating them well enough because they deserve to be treated very well.
We love you too, Stan!
Hi, Stan. First, I'd like to say that you're always a pleasure to see and to be around, and I always jump on the chance to be able to at least maybe even get a question in. And my question for you is, what's it like having created so many characters and to see their current incarnations in like the current Marvel movies, to see them come to life on the big screen?
See, my problem is, I heard everything you said, but I couldn't understand it. I've got the kind of hearing difficulty. I can hear the voices, I can't clarify them enough. But it sounded like an interesting question, and I'm now going to find out what it was.
Now he's forgot about it.
She wanted to know if you wear boxers or... She wanted to know, out of all the iconic characters you've created, how does it feel that you now get to see them in the big movies on the big screen?
I'll show you why I'm such a good interviewee. Feels good. The first time when, what was the first movie? I think it was X-Men. Blade was the first big movie, but I hadn't created Blade. I don't think I did. I think after that came the X-Men. You know, you have to be better behaved as an audience. I was really impressed when I saw the X-Men. When I saw the X-Men on the screen, and I didn't think of, wow, that's the story I did or anything. I was just thinking, how wonderful, from a comic book to a really big movie. And then along came Spider-Man and the others. Now I take them for granted. I mean, if a few months go by and there isn't a Marvel movie, I wonder what they've done wrong. In fact, it's a big problem at Marvel. There are so many things they want to do movies of. They have so many sequels to do, and they're still waiting to do the Doctor Strange and Panther. I mean, there are so many. They don't have the time, there aren't enough months of the year. We'll have to have a movie every month or every week. And they'll be sure because the public deserves it.
Somebody kind of stole my question, but I'll revoke it. When a movie's being created, of one of your comics, have you ever felt very nervous on how it would turn out? Or have you ever actually been more pleased with how it turned out? Thinking like it more than your original story?
So when you find out that a studio is going to create a movie based on one of your iconic characters, do you get nervous about it? Or are you wondering how they're going to portray it? Are you usually pleased, surprised, or disappointed?
Oh, no, I don't get nervous at all. They do a wonderful job. Marvel hires the best directors they can get, the best cinematographers. They try to get the best actors. I mean, they may not do everything perfectly all the time, but these movies are so important to Marvel and to the other studios they work with that I don't worry about it at all. I just can't wait to see the movies. I have another problem with that too. I don't hear that well. My eyesight isn't that good. So when I go to the movie, half the time I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. So I buy the DVD for home and I put on, what do you call it, the words on the subtitles. But lately, I'm having trouble reading the subtitles. Pretty soon I'm going to need somebody to read the movies to me. But they are good.
I'll take that job. I'll take that job.
And I don't worry about it at all. First of all, the characters, the people at Marvel now understand these characters as well or better than I ever did. And they care. They're not a company just, hey, let's do a movie, maybe we'll make some money. They care. They're all fans. So when they do the movie, it's like you people are doing it. They want to make sure that it's just as good as it can be. And I think you'll agree, most of the time they do a pretty good job, I'm happy to say. The Avengers wasn't exactly a dud. By the way, I just met the fellow who played Superman. I forget his name.
Brandon Routh.
What a nice guy. And I didn't see the Superman movie, but boy, I'm going to run and see it. He looked great, He spoke well, he looked good. Is it a good movie?
No. It's all right.
It's okay. It's not a Marvel movie.
No, you can't be that way. I mean, I hope DC does well too, even though they're not as good as we are.
Yes.
Hi, Stan. I was just wondering, over all the years of making stories, if there was any characters or ideas that got thrown on the shelf because of time or something that just never came down.
Meaning any comic ideas?
Yeah, comic idea, the new superhero.
So if you
just never
have
saw the
comic
light of day.
superheroes, comic ideas that got mothballed, they got put on a shelf.
No, not really. I worked for a publisher, and everything had to be okay by him. And he was very easy to please. He was kind of a lazy guy. He liked to often play golf. And left all of the creative stuff to me, because he kept the business stuff. But anyway, anytime I had an idea for a character, I'd bring it to him. He'd either say okay or no. And if I did it, I can't think of any that didn't really work. We didn't have that many. I mean, we had a few that are in movies yet, like Doctor Strange and S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, S.H.I.E.L.D. is now in the movies. We had Sergeant Fury, but he's now Colonel Fury, so he's there. And then we had, the Fantastic Four, the Spider-Man, X-Men, Daredevil, the Hulk, and Doctor Strange. That's about all, isn't it? Oh, and Thor. I'm always forgetting some. But there wasn't anything else we did that didn't sell. I can't think of any superhero we did that didn't turn out good. Because I was the luckiest guy in the world. I worked with the greatest artists you could ever imagine. And they made everything I wrote look twice as good.